My name is Dave Trier. I'm the VP of Product for ModelOp. Today we're going to provide an overview of one of our out-of-the-box monitors that is focused on creating volumetrics measurements. This is part of our overall comprehensive monitoring package in ModelOp Center, which is the leading enterprise ModelOp solution providing consistent orchestration, monitoring, and governance of all models regardless of the language, the framework, where they're developed, the environment in which they run, on-prem, cloud, and the platform in which they're executing. In our comprehensive monitoring package, we help to observe via these various monitoring metrics. We have a number of monitors out of the box. You can also provide your own to observe how that model is performing against those metrics. We then detect any deviations from the expected thresholds for those particular values. And most importantly, we help to automate the remediation for any issues that occur to ensure that those are actually taken to resolution. As mentioned, we have a number of out-of-the-box monitors that you can use to get started quickly. But for today, we're going to specifically focus on some of those operational metrics that you want to look at, in particular around the volumetrics. Going over to ModelOp Center, you can see I've pulled up the production model inventory, which contains all of the various models regardless of where they're executing and where they might have been developed in their language and framework. I'm going to go ahead and click on this particular model, which is actually a credit model that was developed using the very common open source German credit data. I'm actually going to hop into a particular snapshot that we've already made. And as you can see on the right hand side, we have a number of monitors that have already been added to this particular snapshot. There's one that is focused on stability. There's a couple of monitors looking at the volumetrics overall. Now, how do we actually get that onto this particular model? Well, it's very easy. In ModelOp Center, to add a monitor, you simply click this Add button, and what it does is it pulls up a very intuitive, easy-to-use wizard that allows you to see some of those out-of-the-box monitors, as I mentioned before, inclusive of the execution, operational type monitors, some of the data monitors, some of the stability and risk monitors, etc. And in particular, we're going to look at this volumetrics one, where we're computing a number of comprehensive stats, looking at what type of data is coming in, what type of data is coming out, and making sure there's not any discrepancies or missing information overall. And as you can see, once we selected this, the ModelOp Center guides you to understand first a little bit more about this monitor, what it does, what are some of the required assets, the baseline data that you might be comparing it to, the production slice that you might be looking at, and some of the assumptions, etc. So for this one that we are just looking at overall comprehensive outputs, and so I will need to provide the location of that production data. You can actually select existing, these are assets that are already connected to the model, or you can provide a SQL statement that may be in your operational SQL store, or a URL if it's going out to, say, an S3 or HDFS or other object file overall. So in this particular one, I want to go ahead and select the sample data. This is meaning sample in this case means the production slice that has been scored running out into production. For this example, it's a file, but again, that can be an S3 or HDFS or located in an RDBMS or anti-compliant SQL store overall. You can provide a threshold, again, to be able to detect if there's deviations from what you would expect. In this case, I'm going to streamline it for demo's sakes and not have thresholds, but then we go ahead and set a schedule overall for this to run, and I'm going to have it run for every 3 minutes just for demo's sakes, and then you hit save, and that's it overall. Now I've already got one added in here, so I'm not going to save this, but you can see it's as simple as that, to add any monitor onto an existing model, and it doesn't matter where that model is running, on-prem, cloud, and a platform that's proprietary, open source. It doesn't matter. ModelOp Center has that flexibility to allow you to add those monitors wherever those models are actually executing. And once those are in place, what's going to happen is that we're going to, via these model life cycles, going to automatically execute those monitors. And what happens is we go and set up the particular job, understand where that model is running, the language, the framework, all those assets that I mentioned before. It doesn't matter. We flexibly allow you to execute that monitor. So here's where it's going to run that associated model. It's then going to run that against any comparison, any of those thresholds that have been set. And if it passes, then nothing happens, and we just mark it that it actually completed, and we'll show you the test results in a second. But if it does fail, this is where it can take different pathways to help to resolve whatever issue or even warning that might have occurred. In this case, for demo's sakes, we simply are opening up a JIRA ticket, but this can open up a ServiceNow request. It can go off to a model risk system or any other system that is the most appropriate to help to address that. It could be going off to a data scientist if it's more performance related from a statistical perspective. It could go off to a data ops team if it's something related to the data feeds. It could go off to an infrastructure team if there's an issue with actually running the monitor or the overall model itself. But regardless, we help to automate those paths, ensure that they are actually taken to resolution, and then as you can see, we have the audit trail around each one of these jobs, which is incredibly important, especially for regulated models, that you want to make sure that all of these ongoing tests are actually persisted such that at a later time, if you may need it for audit sakes, you have that full auditability record overall. So what happens is the output, I'll go up above to show you. Here's some examples of the model test results. Let's dive into one of those volumetrics, as you will. And really what we're looking at here is more of that from an execution and operational perspective. Are we getting the expected data on the input side and on the output side? So we've actually automatically calculated the counts across all the input features here, the mean, the standard deviation, the min, and then the percentiles 25, 50, 75, and also the max as well. So you can start to understand and get a really detailed, in-depth look at, well, what's that production data flowing into my model? How is it looking? Is it within my original expectation, etc.? So from there, you can also look at for both the numerical but also the categorical features as well. So what are the different category features, categorical features, what are the counts, how many are unique, what are the top values for each one of those, frequency, etc. And then also just the overall record count as part of it. So again, this is just another one of many out-of-the-box monitors that gives you really deep insight into the production execution of your model, in this case more focusing on the data execution overall. For more information about ModelOp Center or the monitoring package, please visit modelop.com. I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for your time.